Hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another video. Today I actually don't know what I'm talking about. Hold on. I made a whole list of ideas on my phone and then I sat down to record one of them, and I'm gonna pick one randomly. So look at this phone case. Is this not the cutest phone case you've ever seen? I got it off of Amazon. It's personalized, it has my name on it, and it looks like a composition notebook, and I think that is adorable. Okay, yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna talk about. Let me go grab some books. The title of today's video is We Need to Talk About CONNILYN Cosette's Books. There are currently 4 of them, but the 5th one is soon to be released, and I am a part of the book launch team for that book, so I will fill you in on all the details as I go on. And of course, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jenna Van Mourik to get all those day-to-day updates as well. I feel like I've recommended these books a lot, and I stand by that. I cannot recommend these books to you enough, but these books have a lot of caveats to reading them, I would say. I have often mentioned that they can work as standalones, and you know, I stand by that kind of, but my opinion has recently changed after reading my advanced copy, my NetGalley copy of her next release, which is Shelter of the Most High. So let me get started into talking about the books. The first books are a part of a trilogy. Their spines are gorgeous and the covers are even more so, and that trilogy is called the Out from Egypt Trilogy, and it focuses on the lives of the Israelites from pretty much the time of the Exodus and the plagues up until Joshua and taking Jericho and all of that kind of stuff that is incredibly interesting to read about. The first book is called Counted with the Stars, the second book is called Shadow of the Storm, and the third book is called Wings of the Wind. The first book follows the story of a young Egyptian girl who is sold by her family into slavery, because that's a thing, and family relationships were terrible back then, and how she ends up joining the Israelites and going along with them once the Exodus occurs, and just her transition into life with them and learning about their god as opposed to the multiple Egyptian gods. And of course there's romance, and it's swoon-worthy. I love this one to death. The second one, which is called Shadow of the Storm, follows the Egyptian girl Kia, or Kaya, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I always say Kia, the Egyptian girl Kia's sister-in-law and best friend. And she is an Israelite woman who came out from Egypt once the Exodus occurs, along with her brother and her family and so on and so forth. And this is the story about her life as, you know, they are wandering in the desert because the golden calf, it pretty much picks up right after the golden calf, or, you know, yeah, literally right at the moment the golden calf thing occurs, pretty much, and it takes place from that point on to when they are wandering in the desert. And, you know, it's just her personal journey of figuring out who she is, and, you know, getting involved in a romantic plot line, because I love those. And this one's adorable, and you should totally read it too. The third book in that series is called Wings of the Wind, and it follows the story of Alana, who is a Canaanite. I'll just read you the back cover of this one, because there's no way that I could summarize it enough in a way that would do the story justice. Motherless and raised alongside her brothers, Alana, a Canaanite, is no stranger to fighting. When her father and brothers are killed in a battle with the Hebrews, she disguises herself and sneaks on the battlefield herself to avenge her family. The one thing she never counted on was surviving. Tobiah, a Hebrew warrior, has spent his share of time on the battlefield and is shocked to find an unconscious woman among the casualties. Compelled to bring her to a healer back at the Hebrew camp, he's unprepared for the consequences of what he intended as an act of compassion. In order to survive, Alana must unite with her enemy, but will a terrible revelation drive her toward an even greater danger. And I think this is where, in terms of her books, I really see CONNILYN Cosette turning into more of a biblical fiction suspense writer. as opposed to just strictly biblical fiction and inspirational romance, although there is romance in this one and it is so compelling and amazing. But what you need to know about this one is that Alana befriends a girl in this book in the Hebrew camp, and they become very close friends, and they go on an adventure together. And what happens on that adventure permanently scars Mariah, who is the girl Alana becomes friends with, and that becomes a burden she carries with her for the rest of her life, which is because she's the main character of A Light on the Hill, which is the start of a new series called Cities of Refuge. So, as you can see, all the characters from her books meet, intertwine, are connected, related somehow. They all know each other somehow. While I would say Counted with the Stars and Shadow of the Storm definitely work as standalones, and you could read them and maybe not read the other one and not understand them. These two do not. Okay, so let me just explain. If you don't read this one, you will not understand half the stuff that she's talking about in this one. You'll understand it, but you won't know what happened, because in this book, it really explains this character's backstory. And in my opinion, that character's backstory is sort of integral, and while this book does give you a little bit of a Cliff's Notes version of, hey, this is my past and this is what's happened, it would probably make more sense if you started with Counted with the Stars and just read them through in the order of their release, as opposed to just picking up this series however you can. And I'm not saying you can't, but I am saying for continuity purposes, that's important. You need to understand all of the things in this book, and in order to do that, you need to read this book, and in order to read this book, you need to read this book, and in order to read this book, you need to read this book. Okay? So I know they're different series, but it's very integral to understanding life that you read all of them in order, okay? Because I've recommended them, but I'm issuing a correction statement because I read the next book, which is Shelter of the Most High. And while I have many times avowed that her books can work as standalones, and certainly they can, at least the original trilogy could, that is all a lie. Shelter of the Most High will make zero sense to you if you have not read A Light on the Hill, because the main character in Shelter of the Most High was the child son of another character from A Light on the Hill. And there's a backstory, and you won't get the backstory if you don't read this one. At least you could get the backstory, but you won't get the backstory in the way that you're meant to get the backstory.
Got it?
So, do you understand? Hear my plea when I say, yes, you can absolutely read this series if you want to. But my soul would be so much happier if you would just read them, and then read them, and then read them all in order. Because all of this to say, CONNILYN Cossette's books are amazing, and Shelter of the Most High was incredible, and it's definitely building to something. I could tell in the writing of it. It is building to another book. Once you finish, one of these two, you're good. You have a conclusion, and you don't need much more to the story. As for these two books, they both have built to something, and you see pieces of what this one was building come into play in this one, and you see pieces of what this one built come into play in Shelter of the Most High. But all the things in Shelter of the Most High, it ends and it leaves you with the sense of, but wait, there must be more. But it's definitely they definitely build upon each other, and they start to build upon each other more. And I'm telling you, if you read them, it's gonna pay off, because Shelter of the Most High is epic. Mic drop. Or book drop, but I shouldn't do that because I hurt the books. So all of that to say, I'm a huge fan of her books. I hope that you will be too. And I needed to get that out there. I needed to put that out into the world, because I've been sharing her books so much lately that y'all are like, oh, can I just pick up this one? And I've gotten messages of like, could I just read that one? And I'm gonna say you can, but you shouldn't. It's like you have the ability to steal something, but you shouldn't. That was a weird example. Also, if you read this one, it's gonna spoil this one. And if you read this one, or if you read the second one in this series, it's gonna spoil them. So there's major spoilers, and that's a conundrum. Shelter of the High. Future Jenna here. I can't believe I said Shelter of the High. That's just great. Shelter of the High. It's Shelter of the Most High. and I'm on the launch team. It releases on October 2nd, so that means you have a whole month to get your life together and read her books. Once again, I am Jenna Van Mourik. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I hope you enjoyed this ranty style video. I enjoyed making it for you. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Jenna Van Mourik. As you already heard, I'm a book reviewer, which means I also have a blog, and you can find that at www.jennavanmourik.com. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I love making these videos, and I'm so glad that at least 2 of you probably enjoy watching them. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!